to be able to speak here after this amazing panel. I think it's a perfect segue. The previous panel touched upon many different aspects, and now we're going to be focusing mainly on DeFi projects, smart contracts, right? So how do you tell if a certain DeFi project or a smart contract project is secure, right? A bit about myself. I've been working in security for over 10 years now. I've started like at traditional institutions, working on actually Web2 pen testing, because there was this discussion about like Web3 is actually Web 2.5, especially when it comes to security. So we definitely realized that. I also did my PhD in security and worked at traditional institutions like Philips and BMW, but like over the more than 4 years from then, I've been focusing on security audits at Quantstamp and also insurance. So the main motivation for this talk is that over the past 8+ years, there's been over $5 billion of hacks just from smart contracts. So we're not even counting any exchange hacks, or even like, I'm even excluding the Terra crash here. Just focusing on hacks that were due to security incidents in smart contracts, right? And one important thing to note is that more than 70% of these were unaudited, right? So there's still the 30%, right, which were audited, right? So then people might be asking like, oh, isn't an audit supposed to mean that a project is secure? And the answer is no. And I'm going to tell you more about that in this presentation. So the promise is that you'll be able to tell if a project is secure, answering some simple questions. And this slide lists some basic questions. Of course, there could be a few more that you can add in addition to these, but these are basically things that you should always look at, or you should try to answer before depositing into any smart contract or DeFi project. So the first question, is it audited, right? First off, is it audited and by whom, right? And you can just do a Google search. Who are the best auditors in Web3, right? And you're gonna get multiple different lists. You can do an intersection. I don't wanna sort of show a ranking here or whatever. There are multiple auditors out there. I'm, of course, representing Quantstamp. We've been around for over 5 years now. We've done over 600 audits, and we have over 250 customers. But like what stands out at Quantstamp is our amazing technical team. You know, like many of the people there have PhDs and have been around in this industry for long before Quantstamp was actually founded. The next question is, are the audits public, right? So if someone has an audit and it's not public, you might be asking, well, why not, right? It might be very well the case that there are many problems in the audit report, therefore they don't want to disclose it. So if someone says, we have an audit, but they're not showing you the report or the full report, that could already be a red flag. Then you can say like, okay, maybe I should be careful here, right? You can freely Google for any kind of audit reports. Generally, there are no constraints on publishing such reports, and the top projects have them, right? I just entered a query here for Lido, which is like, just checked what's the top DeFi project in terms of total value locked on DeFi Llama, and Lido was the first one, so that's why I searched for Lido. So no advertisement there. Of course, also different projects might have multiple audits. The more audits someone has, the better, right? And if you go, for instance, on Lido's GitHub page, you'll see they have tons of audits, right? In a typical audit report, right, you have a gold mine of information, right? You have multiple things on the first page of the audit, which can already tell you if you should invest or not, right? Oh, sorry, yeah. So it already tells you if you should put your money in there or not, right? So first one is, are the issues in the audit report fixed, right? That's the first thing you look at, right? And here you can see, okay, some of the issues are not fixed, right? So what do you look at next? Is that just a showstopper? It's not, right? You look at how severe are those issues which are not fixed, right? Like, are they really like critical and they've been ignored or acknowledged? Or are they just like informational or low severity risk, right? And if you think like, yeah, in this case, you know, like there's a medium issue that wasn't solved, you can jump into it and see if that could lead to a loss of funds, right? If you're comfortable with that, right, you have a description in the report. If you're comfortable, maybe it's not something that could directly lead to a loss of funds, but maybe just some kind of reputation damage or a risk for the protocol itself, not for the user, then, you know, you're free to deposit, right? But just looking at these kind of things, I just wanted to go back one slide here or two. This information regarding quality of documentation and test is also very important because, like, there's a strong correlation. I'm not saying there's any causation, but there's a strong correlation between the quality of documentation and tests of a project and the probability that they will get hacked, right? Or like the quality of their actual code. So these are very strongly correlated. You can look at that to indicate whether this might be a red flag, right? And it's also important to note that sometimes someone gets an audit and before they actually deploy on chain, they actually add way more code, which is not audited. And there's these classical examples from, you know, I like to give Uranium Finance as an example, which was this project that came out in DeFi summer. They forked Uniswap v2, and they changed like 1 or 2 lines of code, right, from Uniswap v2. And they got hacked for $50 million, right? Just with 2 lines of code changes in Uniswap v2. So that's, you know, like when someone says we just changed a few lines of code in a protocol that is secure, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need any audit anymore, right? You need to inspect what the impact of those changes are on the actual project. So jumping over those questions we just saw, another question is, like the final question that I like to put here because I'm a fan of insurance is there any insurance provider that is offering coverage for this project, right? And this is also a very good flag because if there's not, it means that, you know, there's probably insurance providers out there that have looked at this product and they decided not to insure it, right? And this basically means there probably is something wrong with it, right? Maybe, it's not guaranteed, but it's a red flag, right? So for instance, like for the same example for Lido, you know, like I'm happy to see that, you know, Chainproof, which is a subsidiary of Quantstamp, is the first query that we get. Like, I wanted to just introduce Quantstamp. If people here don't know it, we are the first regulated smart contract insurance company in the world. We are licensed by the Bermudian Monetary Authority, reinsured by Munich Re, the largest reinsurer in the world, and backed as a main investor by Sompo, which is Japan's second largest insurance. And we're, of course, backed with technical know-how by Quantstamp, which is like technology provider, knowledge provider. And we're offering insurance for some of the biggest protocols in Web3, and we're also offering slashing insurance. So that's it. Thanks a lot for your attention.